Welcome to Your Number Man, the podcast where we dive deep into business, finance, and entrepreneurship. I am your host, Johan Zanik, but you can call me Your Number Man. Over the years, I've worn many hats in the business world, from marketing ace to financial expert. And now I'm here to share my expertise with you. Each week, we'll explore strategies, insights, and stories to help you navigate the complexities of running a successful business. Whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur or just starting, this podcast is your go-to resource for all things business and finance. So grab a drink, settle in, and let's unlock the secrets to building and thriving business together. This is Your Number Man, where we help you achieve a bigger life in business. Well, good day, everybody. I am very excited about today's episode. We have our second guest of the season, Dr. Scott Zarcinas, aka Doctor Zed, because no one can pronounce his surname. Now, Scott is the founding director of 818 Unlocking Your Life. He helps self-driven individuals maximize their potential and improve their effectiveness by showing them how to realign with their purpose, values, and passion to achieve their personal and professional goals without feeling overwhelmed and fearful of change. Scott is a doctor, an author, and a transformational coach. He specialises in personal transformation, helping people awaken to their authentic selves so they can create a life of abundance. Dr. Zed has authored 10 books, including the self-help titles It's Up to You and The Flea Circus, which addresses the issues of self-limiting behaviours and self-sabotage. His teaching is based on the guiding principles of the diamond triangle. When you have clarity about who you are, what you do, why you do it, and how you do it, you lay the foundation for an effective and fulfilled personal and professional life. But he is better known as the creator of the famous cricketing chant, "Ooh, ah, Glenn McGrath." So please welcome the very youthful but slightly balding Dr. Zed.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Johan, for that wonderful introduction. I couldn't have written it better myself.
Yeah, great. Before the show gets on the road, we all are entrepreneurs, or we're thinking about entrepreneurship. We're business owners, or in the process of starting business, or we like to and try to get more information. And a lot of the stuff is about numbers. Usually I talk about numbers, bit of a different perspective today. So I can guarantee you that Scott will give you a better understanding of your goals and aspirations. For decades, he has helped people to get a clarity, direction, and confidence to build a life they believe they deserve. So, Scott, let's start with your latest book, The Flea Circus, How to Break Bad Habits and Live Effectively. It was published in October last year. Can you please give our listeners an idea of what your book is about, obviously without any spoiler alerts?
Sure, thank you. Yes, have you actually heard of the flea circus? Have you personally heard of what a flea circus is?
Yes, I've heard it before. Yes, yeah.
I think because just for your readers and your listeners, the flea circus was the little sideshow that used to follow around the main circus 150, 180 years ago, when the main circus went from village to village around Europe, America, even Australia. But one of the side shows was a man carrying his suitcase, a flea trainer. And what he would do, he would open his suitcase, and in it was a little miniature circus, which was populated with fleas. So fleas were doing carousels, pulling little car, doing little tricks, but, only jumping a few centimeters high.
Yes.
Now, the flea has the most amazing ability of any living organism on the planet.
Yes.
To jump 48 times its own height. Now, that's like you, Johan, jumping over the Westpac building here in Adelaide. So,
which is what, 25 stories?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's big.
Yeah.
So how do you train a flea to only therefore jump just a few centimeters, way under its capacity and capability? So, well, it is because what a flea trainer does, he gets the flea and he gets an empty glass or a cup.
Yes.
And he puts that empty glass or cup on top of the flea. So when the flea jumps, it hits the bottom of the cup.
Yes.
Hits the bottom of the glass. So when it's done that a few thousand times, the flea trainer removes the cup, and the flea does not return to its original capability of jumping 48 times. It only jumps for what it's been trained to jump. And when I read that, a decade or so ago, I thought, what an amazing analogy or metaphor for the human mind.
Yes.
Because we put ceilings, mental ceilings, above us that we believe we can only jump so high.
Mm.
So we put self-limiting beliefs, negative beliefs, things like, I'm not good enough, I'm not clever enough, or, I don't deserve this. All those sorts of self-limiting beliefs, negative things we say to each other, they are the mental ceilings that don't let us jump to our full capacity and our full capability. So I figured, let's write a book about that,
Yes.
about what are the limitations that we put on ourselves, self-imposed limitations. Not
Yes.
anyone else, not our situation, not our economic situation, not our physical capabilities, not anything to do with the external world. It's all to do with our internal mindset
Yes.
and our internal world and what we believe we are capable of doing and what we believe about ourselves.
Do you reckon that little flea, I don't know, I can imagine how big a brain is of a flea, but why did the flea actually stop jumping? Is it because it hurt its head every time it hit the hit the ceiling? Or
Yes, well, again, it's training. It's been trained to only think that it can only jump so high. And we train ourselves in much the same way to believe that we can only jump so high. And it's our own belief. Now, that belief might have started with our parents. It might have started with our schooling. It might have started with the bully in the playground. It might have started with that first failed relationship that we had. But we continue it.
Yes.
And so therefore, it's up to us to stop continuing. We say, yes, okay, that happened. Yes, that was a belief that was given to me, but it's a belief I no longer want to take part of anymore.
Yep.
I don't believe in that. I believe that I have great capacity. I've got great capability. I've got a positive mindset. I believe there are no limits. As one of my most famous or favorite gurus of all time, Bruce Lee, said, there are no limits. There are only plateaus. And you must not stay there. You must go beyond. And so
I love that
that is what we can believe. We can believe that there are only plateaus. And think about plateaus. If you look at it, and I draw you, there are plateaus like this, and then you go above it, and there's another plateau.
Yes.
And then you raise it. What does that look like when I draw that for you?
Well, it's like steps.
Like steps. So, but it's perspective, isn't it? If you look at it from underneath the steps, you hit a ceiling.
Yeah.
But you come from that. But if you look at it from above, there's stepping stones, there's steps you can raise. So it's just a matter of perspective.
Yes.
Which way do you look at the steps? Do you look at it from below, where then it's a ceiling above your head, or do you look at it from above, where you can then step on it to raise you higher?
That's a good point. I mean, I would look at steps coming towards the steps and see, okay, I can technically
rise up. Yes.
But it's all about perception, isn't it? Because you talk about 5 pillars in this book as well. The first pillar, which you say, embrace the power of positive affirmations.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So it's about the positive affirmations is you're telling yourself, it's a bit like, they all know about Rocky and a famous chant.
Yes.
These positive affirmations where he was hit and fell down, stand up, and he got hit and stand up again. And whenever that music plays, I still do it. I go for my workout on my push bike or go to the gym. Is that Rocky music? That sort of like resonates with me. Yeah.
A success is falling down 9 times, getting up 10.
Yes.
And so it's not allowing yourself to stay down. Positive affirmation. Look, it's really interesting. Psychologists tell us that we have somewhere between 15,000 and 60,000 thoughts a day. Now, I don't know how you count thoughts, okay? But they say that, all right? How do you count a thought? I don't know. But let's say 15 to 60,000 thoughts a day, of which 98% are the same thoughts you had yesterday.
Okay. Yep.
So we're living our own Groundhog Day. Every single one of us live our same Groundhog Day, same thoughts, 98% same thoughts we had yesterday, of which 98% were the same thoughts the day before. Tomorrow you'll have 98% the same thoughts that you had today. Mm-hmm. Unless you change it. So of that 98%, 80% are negative. So 80%, I thought, when I read that, I thought, my goodness, 80% negative thoughts. And I did the sums. You're a numbers man?
Yep.
That equates to something like, if from the lowest end of 15,000 to highest end 60,000 thoughts a day, that equates to 40. Between 3 million, 15 million negative thoughts per person per year.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's something to celebrate, isn't it?
And over a 75-year lifetime,
Yeah.
average lifetime, that equates to something like 1.36 billion negative thoughts per person per lifetime.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you imagine this world if it was 1.36 billion positive thoughts per person per lifetime?
No, I can't imagine it.
Let's try. It would be paradise. We would create paradise on
Yeah.
earth, wouldn't we? We've created a hell on earth with our 80% negative thoughts.
Yes.
But it's within our power to turn those negative thoughts into a positive thought.
Mm.
And we can do that. We have that power. We have the power to make paradise on this planet, if we so choose, by simple numbers game. Now, one of the best ways to do that is to insert a 3-letter word that has the power to change your life and the power to change the world. It's a simple 3-letter word that I'll tell you in just a minute. One of my life coaching clients told me at the end of last year, within about 3 to 4 weeks of me meeting her, she said, "Since you told me this one strategy, I feel like I'm living in a world of abundance." And that is the power of this strategy.
Yes.
And I call it inserting the but, B-U-T. So when you have a negative thought,
Yep.
let's say, "Oh, I'm not clever enough." Well, you've got to catch that thought and then insert the but, B-U-T, at the end of it and go, "But if I just do a little bit of reading, I will be clever enough. I'll understand more." So you can flip any negative thought that you have about yourself
Yes.
or about the situation or about another person. You can flip that negative thought into a positive thought and reframe it in a more positive way. So, for instance, let's say I always want to go on that holiday, that overseas holiday, but I'll never have enough money. But if I can save $100 a week within 50 weeks, a year,
Yeah.
I'll have $5,000. Within 2 years, I'll have $10,000. $10,000 is enough to go on a nice little holiday overseas.
Yeah.
So you can do it.
Yeah. Do it every week, and every 2 years.
You'll have $10,000.
Every year you go to France and
Yeah.
Viva la France.
Yeah. So you can do it.
Yes.
You can turn you can turn any negative statement
Yeah.
that goes through your head. And remember, you have 15,000 of them or more every day.
Yeah. Instead of putting 15,000 buts in, just try 10 buts a day.
And that's already a massive improvement.
That's great.
Because then the next day you do another 10. The next day you do another 10. By the end of the week, you've done 70. Now had 70 more positive thoughts about yourself or about the world than you did the week before.
Great. A lot of people want to expand their business, but cash flow is always a damper. So, I can never get at that extra beautiful new piece of equipment. I don't have enough cash. But what if I do a little bit of research, or I really look at increasing my gross profit margin? It's really within our reach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Every single person on this planet has the power to make and shape their own happiness and their own positivity.
Okay.
I've just borrowed, that's a quote by Hassan Rosa, and in his poem, A Letter to Abigail, when he said, all of us have the power to make and shape our own happiness.
Yes.
Okay, that's our inner power. In fact, that's the other book I published last year as well. It's called The Power of You, and that's the quote that I used for that book, because we have to understand that we have the power to make and shape our own world.
Yeah.
Now, we have to understand that we live in our own consciousness. Okay, so therefore, everyone lives in his own world. Okay,
Yes.
We don't live in the world. There is no outside world per se. We all live in our own inner world, and it's our own inner world of consciousness.
Yes.
So therefore, that is where we must focus our thoughts and our attention, because that is where all our experience is. Now, you're looking at me across this table here. I only exist to you because you have a consciousness. So we must therefore focus our attention on our consciousness, because that is where we experience life.
Yeah.
Because that's our own inner world, we have total power over that world. So therefore, we must be aware of what we allow in and out of our consciousness.
Okay, that's a little bit of a mouthful, but I hear what you say.
Yeah.
And just interesting, I thought I just want to throw it in, talk about The Power of You. And one of my favorite books was an Australian author, but is actually born in South Africa. And I only actually get to know him when I came to Australia. His name is Bryce Courtney, and he wrote the book The Power of One, which is actually a fantastic book as well about his little South African boy that grew up somewhere in the bush, and he was bullied. He was an orphan, so to speak, and he just kept on going. And a boxer as well, like Rocky, I guess. It's just an amazing book. So, and I can understand now what you talk about the consciousness, because he perceived probably a little bit like a little Jack Russell or a...
He was a little fighter, wasn't he?
He was a little fighter.
Yeah,
And
a Piscop.
Piscop was his name. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it is about the power. You have the power to determine your experience of life. Okay?
Yes.
What you focus on, you experience at the end of the day. So do you choose to focus on negativity? Or the problems that you face, or the challenges that you encounter, all the things that annoy you? Or do you choose to focus on what you can do about it, the solutions? Are you a solution focused, or are you problem focused?
Yes.
Are you focused on what you can do, or are you focused on what you can't do? Are you focused on what you can control, or are you focused on what you can't control? The choice is yours on what you choose to focus on. Now, most of us, and myself included here, choose 80% of the time to focus on the negative. That's a proven statistical human trait.
A human trait.
Now, back in the days when we were running away from saber-toothed tigers and things like that, then maybe that was a survival thing. So we had to focus on that for pure physical survival of the species and safety, right?
Sure.
And there's an interesting model of the brain called the triune model of the brain, Paul. And he talks about the three main areas of the brain being the reptilian brain, which is that part of the brain where the skull meets the spine.
Okay. Yep.
That's your oldest reptilian, most least evolved part of your brain.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got what's called the paleomammalian brain, which is the part of the brain, the lateral part of the brain. And that is what I call the emotional hothouse. Okay. Paleo means old.
Yes.
Mammalian means mammals. And then you've got the neo-mammalian brain, which is the forebrain, the part at the front of your head. Neo means new.
Yes.
That is the most evolved part of your brain. It's probably that part of the brain that separates us from the rest of the animal kingdom.
So that's the conscious part.
It's all conscious. Everything's conscious. It's just levels of consciousness. For instance, the reptilian brain, the oldest part of your brain, is purely or only interested in safety and survival.
Yep.
Fight and flight.
Mm-hmm.
And the third one, freeze. The neo-mammalian is your most evolved part, as we said. That's your higher reasoning center. Thoughts, beliefs, planning, self-analysis, that sort of stuff. So we have to understand that when the fear kicks in, running away from safety and survival, that's your reptilian brain kicking in there.
Yeah.
And you need to do that. Okay, you need to get yourself away from a dangerous environment. But that's where it ends. Okay, most of us don't live in a totally threatened environment. Bombs aren't dropping on our head here in Adelaide. Yes, maybe other parts of the world it's not so good at the moment. You've got Palestine, you've got Ukraine. Okay,
yes.
So you can imagine living in that environment where your physical life is threatened. So you can imagine got a very high stress.
Yes.
But in our day-to-day life here in Australia and most Western worlds, we're not physically threatened. By external things. Look, and some people will go, oh, yeah, but what about, abusive husbands? And okay, look, if you're in an abusive relationship, you've got to get yourself out of there, okay? And you've got to go to somewhere that's safe. But I'm talking about you're just everyday person that's going to work, got a family, or going to university, going to school, whatever it is. So we don't need to live in that high stress reptilian brain focused area where it's fight and flight. There's what's called the stress hormones. The cortisol, the adrenaline. That is necessary for that situation where you need to flee. So you need the adrenaline, you need to get out of there. But you only need to use it for a few minutes. But we live in a constant state of high stress. Because we allow our reptilian brain to take over and everything's a stress and we react to stress. We react like pinballs in a machine. We're just reacting. So our cortisol levels and our adrenaline are always at a high level. But that's what causes diseases.
Yes.
They're quite destructive. That's what causes aging. It ages us to have this constant, causes heart disease, causes gastrointestinal problems, causes mental health issues. We're always running at those higher levels. What we need to do is we need to have our higher reasoning centers take over control and say, you know what? I'm not in a life-threatening situation here. I choose to focus on things that I can control, not what I can't control. So that's why I brought this up, to say that yes, look, if you dissect my brain, you're not going to find neo-mammalian, paleomammalian, and reptilian nicely delineated little pockets. What this model is just how the different parts of the brain interact with each other.
Yeah.
So part of this book, The Flea Circus, is to understand that, yes, we've got these three parts of our brain. Which is the part that we want to focus on?
Yeah.
We want to focus on what we can do or what we can't do.
That's fantastic. Wow. We've got our own Dr. Huberman here in Adelaide. That's fantastic. The second pillar, and you probably touch on it a lot, is cultivating that growth mindset. So obviously in my talks, we are number specific, all the boring stuff, not as exciting as,
Yes.
as you, but we need numbers. The engine room of a business is your gross profit. Now, just to give you a little bit of basics, and obviously you probably know that, is you get your income and then your direct expenses, and then you get your gross profit from that. So it's before you get all the other overheads as well. So that gross profit is a very important part of your business, that gross profit ratio. That can help you with a lot of things, how you can actually grow and help with your strategy, your cash flow, everything basically, I would say is, I call it the queen of business. Cash is king, gross profit is queen. Now, I always tell people is you got to go and change your mindset to really focus on your gross profit. Increase it, sustain it, protect it, all that beautiful things. And a lot of the time is sometimes people say, well, yeah, I've got this money issue with me. I can only charge a guy $50 for this pair of shoes that I've made because, it only cost me really $20 in labor. And then and then I say to people, well, you probably got to charge the shoes as the actual value. So you got to have that growth mindset. But how can we change that growth mindset? You talk about cultivated growth mindset. You got to change your way that you see money. A lot of people talk about the imposter syndrome. Is that a real thing, or is it just?
Well, two things. First of all, yes, imposter syndrome is real. Let's go back first to a growth mindset.
Yes.
Now, the natural order of the universe and the world is growth, expansion.
Yes.
Okay. You look at a little sapling, over time, it shoots. You sow a seed, it shoots, it grows
Yes.
branches, and suddenly it's a tree. You look at babies. They're born, they grow into childhood, they grow into adulthood. Okay, the natural order is growth.
Yep.
Okay, everything grows. Even the universe itself, as the Hubble spacecraft has shown and identified, it's expanding. The natural order of the universe, the natural order of life itself is growth. So if you don't have a growth mindset, you're actually going against the natural order of the universe.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay? So, and what happens when you go against the natural order of the universe? Well, you stagnate. You become flat. Now, in medicine, when you see a flat line like that, what does that represent?
Flatlining.
Yeah, death.
Yeah, death.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're flatlining, if your business is flatlining, it's dying. Even if it may not be dead yet, but it's dying.
That's right. Yeah.
So it needs to constantly grow. Now, growth, I'm going to take a little bit away from the numbers a little bit, but you can add numbers to what I'm about to say.
Sure, yeah.
And we're speaking to your audiences, mainly small business owners, entrepreneurs.
Yes.
And I say, when I speak to my businesses and the people that I speak to are entrepreneurs as well, your business won't grow until you grow.
Okay.
You are the business, essentially, until you build your staff and until you build things up. And even then, your business won't grow until your staff grows, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so it behooves you to grow as a person if you are a sole trader or an entrepreneur, because when you grow as a person, your business will naturally grow.
Yes.
Okay? When you become an employer and you start having staff, your business will grow when you grow and your staff grows.
Yes.
So that's why you invest in personal training, personal development, as well as staff development training. So if you want your business to grow, yes, you need to look at the numbers, obviously, but you also need to look at the numbers within you. Am I growing today?
Yeah.
Is my staff growing? As in personally?
Yeah.
And you need to implement that growth mindset to know that to be better today than you were yesterday, to be better tomorrow than you are today. That's a growth mindset, to really appreciate things don't stay the same. And if things do stay the same, if they are stagnant, well, then you're on a slippery slope out of here.
Yeah.
So always have that growth mindset of always wanting to grow, but it doesn't necessarily have to be in monetary terms. It can be growth as a person in character terms, in value terms, in having an abundance mindset, seeing the goodness, truth, and beauty in every moment.
I read something yesterday about this guy. I said, I want butterflies. I can't chase them because they just fly away. And then he changed his growth mindset and started to plant a beautiful garden with flowers, and then he tracked all
Yes.
the butterflies.
Yeah, that's a great analogy.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
That's a growth mindset.
that's a growth mindset.
Yes. Instead of
Oh,
chasing, you become that which is
mm,
attractive to the things you want to attract.
yeah.
It's like chasing the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. It's pointless. You'll never reach the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow,
Yeah.
although many of us try. So what I say is be the rainbow. Once you're the rainbow,
So you
the
mean
pot of
we
gold.
all got to get out of the closet now?
Yes, yes,
Sorry,
but it's if the pot of gold is at the end of the rainbow, then you have to be the rainbow.
okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
so therefore, it's a change of mindset.
Yeah.
It's which perspective are you looking for? Are you looking at it?
Yeah.
Are you looking under the stairs or are you looking on top of the stairs? That's the importance of a growth mindset.
I like that. It looks like a book club here. We've got a lot of books here in front of us, and we've got
Well, I mean, you're talking about growth mindset. That book you've got right there in front of you, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Napoleon Hill. Yeah, it's a favorite. Yeah.
It's approaching 90 years old since it was first published.
Yeah.
For your readers, if they haven't read it, it's a wonderful, wonderful book. He was commissioned to interview all the richest barons, entrepreneurs in the United States 100 years ago.
Back in the day, yeah.
And so what he learned from interviewing them, he learned some key concepts that every one of these very rich, successful, powerful people actually implemented. And that's what this book is about. He goes step by what you too can implement these same characters and trait for yourself.
Very interesting. I just opened a book and then I looked at my screen. The next question, next of your pillars is you said visualization and mental rehearsal. And I opened this book here. Napoleon Hill talks about imagine yourself successful. Visualize the person you desire to become.
Yes. That's amazing. It's all about...
I've just opened it. It's like, I don't know. Is it magic? I don't know. What's
Well, the universe is magic.
Yes.
We come from nothing.
Yeah.
And here we are. That's magical, isn't it? Whether you believe in the Big Bang or you believe in creation, it basically comes from nothing, which is magic. And yes, visualization, extremely important. Extremely important. In fact, it's one of the smart leadership program that I run my clients through. And one of the it is the very first thing we do is talk about who is the person you want to become.
Yep.
Okay, not your business, not your relationships, not how much money you want, not how many holidays you want to take. Who is the person you want to become?
Yeah.
Okay, and so we talk about that. Arnold Schwarzenegger in 1972, before he was famous, was interviewed. And in that interview, he told the reporter or the interviewer, create a vision of who you want to be and then grow into that picture as if it were already there. And that's what he did. He spent the next 50 years growing into that picture of who he wanted to be. Okay, so that's what I recommend.
And then he said, I'll be back.
I'll be back.
Yeah.
Grow into that picture as if it were already there. So you must first create that vision of who you want to be. Because if you don't, then you're just going to grow into anybody. So that is what creating the vision does. It creates the destination of who you want to be and where you want to go. Yeah. Yes, you must create that vision for your business as well, obviously. Yeah. You must say, this is where I want to achieve in 5 years. This is where I want to be in 10 years, even in 6 months' time. And that's why you have KPIs to then...
KPIs and budgets. People, budgets.
Yes. So that's so you know you're on track. But, but on track to where? On track to where? Because there's no point having KPIs and budgets if there's no destination that you know you want to arrive at. Yeah. No wind is helpful if you do not know to where you want to go to. You can have great KPIs, great budgeting, great this, but where are you going? And that's the other thing about being an entrepreneur and small business owner. That business has to be a reflection of you as a human being. Yeah. Okay? So your business... Period. Yeah. The business has to be you in physical form. So, for instance, like my other business that I have, Doctor Zed Publishing, which I created in 2006, this is why you have values in a business. The values are goodness, truth, and beauty. Yep. So the books that I publish hopefully have goodness about them, truth about them, or beauty about them. Even my dark thrillers as long as goodness triumphs over evil in the end, then it fulfills the values that I request or I require from my authors and from my books. I don't want the bad guy winning, okay, at the end of the day, all right?
Yeah.
So there are plenty of books where the bad guy wins all the time, right? But I don't want to publish those books. I don't want to read those books. That is just an example of how my business has to reflect the values of who I am as the director of that business.
Yeah.
And here's a really interesting thing. Psychologists tell us that we are the product of the 5 people that we hang around with the most.
At a certain time?
Right now, who do you
So
hang
there's
around?
probably 5 most important people in my life, and
Yes.
I'm probably the product of
Those 5.
All right.
But when I first heard that, I thought, crikey, I better watch out who I'm hanging around with at the moment. 'Cause sorry, my friend's listening to this at the moment, but sorry. And then I thought, you know what? If I had a choice of all the human beings that had ever lived in the history of humanity, who are the 5 that I would have liked to have hung around with the most? And the first one that came to mind was Abraham Lincoln.
Right.
I would love to have hung around with Abraham Lincoln. People go, well, why? I said, well, because I look at him and I see a person of immense integrity, honesty, always doing the right thing, chivalry. And I thought, I would like to have that little bit of Abraham Lincoln in me, integrity, authenticity. And that's what integrity is. It's being true to your authentic self.
Yes.
As long as I am true to me, Scott Zarcinas, as long as I am true to me all the time, I am being authentic, I am being honest, I have integrity.
Yes.
So the second person I thought was someone from your neck of the world, Nelson Mandela.
Hoo-ha, yeah.
And
good old Madiba.
Yes.
Yes.
He was incarcerated for 27 years.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a terrorist. I mean...
Well, anyway, it's debatable. We're not going to go into politics now.
But anyway.
Yeah.
He went in a very angry young man. And he came out of it a man of peace. Now, I heard or watched an interview with him in 1999 where Bill Clinton, President of the United States, interviewed Nelson Mandela.
All right.
And the very first question that Bill Clinton asked was, what did you learn from your 27 years of incarceration? And Nelson Mandela sat there for about 30 seconds, didn't answer, just thought about it.
Yeah.
And then he said, I learned to give up hate.
Yes.
And when I heard him say that, I thought, wow, can I give up hate?
Yes.
Do I really have that power of forgiveness?
Yeah.
So he came out of prison and he could have said to his people, kill all the white people.
Oh, yeah.
And
I was there.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't know what's going to go on in the country.
And they would have, but he didn't. He came out and said, let's forgive.
He prevented the civil war.
He did.
Technically.
He absolutely did.
Because
he had learned to forgive.
Yes.
He had learned to give up his hate. And he came out a wonderful man of peace.
That's right.
So
and it's a great inspiration. I mean, for the listeners out there that's rugby fans, as I'm a big rugby fan. There was a movie about a decade ago called Invictus, and that's the life of Nelson Mandela and how he influenced the Springboks to become the rugby world champions. And sorry to say, it's the best rugby team in the world. We've won four rugby World Cups now.
2 in a row.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I'm digressing, and we're definitely not talking about numbers, but I guess it all comes back to numbers. So carry on, number 3.
Yes. So the third one was another famous Prime Minister, Winston Churchill. And I just love his never, 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 never give up. Keep going, keep going, keep going. If you're going through hell, keep going. I want that resilience, that determination, that just keep going, keep going, keep going. The fourth one I want to hang around with is Mother Teresa. And yes, she's had her detractors, but she also did so much good for the people of Calcutta. In India. For me, it's just her faith, her absolute diehard faith. I would love to have that rock faith, that rock solid faith. That's someone who I would like, what I'm working on myself.
Yeah.
And the fifth one, which might surprise a few of your listeners, but won't surprise others, is Jesus.
All right, yeah. Good old JC, yeah.
Wouldn't it have been wonderful just to follow him around and just watch all those miracles? I mean, that's
Yeah.
I would just what cured the blind, fed the 5,000 people, walked on water. Can you imagine witnessing that? That would have just been sensational. But for me, though, the most important thing for me about Jesus is his love for humanity.
Yes.
And I'm working on it. That is something I'm working on. It is my love for humanity.
Yeah.
So those are the 5 things that I'm working on. And so I ask your listeners to who would you like to
choose 5?
Choose 5. So off the top of your head, Johan.
Yeah.
It's tough to think of straight away.
Yeah.
But there'll be 1 or 2 that you can
probably,
think of.
I mean, I love nature. I love being out there and love to be inspired. Well, today we've got on the savannah here in Africa. I love David Attenborough.
Yes. Yeah.
I never could do his accent. Nelson Mandela, big as well.
Yep.
Who was, top of my head. I gotta think about it. Yeah, probably. I love people that's not famous.
Yes.
People I see every day. You know, I love hanging out with my clients. They teach me so much, actually.
Yeah.
You know, I think it was Tony Robbins. I wouldn't say he's probably one of the guys I look up to, but he's he's quite inspiring. He's quite forceful in his ways. But he said, you almost got to fall in love with your clients.
Yes.
You got to really understand their purpose. Why are they in the business, and really help them reach it. And that's my goal. That's what I want to do.
That's a really good trait.
And they inspire me. You know, they inspire me, and I hope I inspire them somehow.
Kevin Sheedy, who coached the Essendon Football Club for 20-odd years, won 4 premierships, I think, said to be a great manager, you have to love your players.
Yes.
You have to love them. They have to know that you care about them.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're not gonna fight for you. All great leaders know that you must care for the people that you're leading. And that is one thing that I try to instill with all of my clients, especially my life coaching clients, is I really want them to feel like I care about their success. I care about them. And I'm really, really trying to instill that in them so that they know that their success is my success. So that's a trait that I'm also working on as well.
That's right. I think we as working close with businesses, it's important. Trust is the glue of life.
Yes. If your clients don't trust you, they're not going to do business with you.
This interview with Dr. Zed was so good. We'll split it into 2 episodes. So join us next week to hear the rest. So each week, I'm going to have a numeric on the show. Now, a lot of you might ask, what is a numeric? Well, a numeric is actually a limerick. It's just got a number connotation to it. And today's numeric is: a shop was owned by Mrs. Brown. Rates gone up and cash got down. All hope was not lost as she looked at every cost, and then she found a way to lose a frown. And that's a wrap. Thanks for joining me, and I hope today's session was valuable and you feel inspired to take action in your business. Remember, business success is about more than just numbers. It's about passion, determination, and a relentless drive to pursue your dreams through the help of numbers. So keep pushing forward, learning and striving for a bigger life in your business. If you found this podcast valuable, be sure to subscribe. Follow us on socials and leave a review if you enjoyed today's episode. And one last thing, if you want access to additional resources that will help you fast track your cash flow and financial freedom, visit yournumberman.com.au. Until next time, this is Johan Zanik, your number man, signing off. Thanks again.